记忆体可能不够。好，你录看，30分钟应该录不了。
哦。
它这个录影档案太大。
And do you have speak English?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
为什么录不了？那它会怎样？
Well.
录不了会怎样？
录不了就满而已啊，没关系啊，你就录吧。
Well.
才30分钟，你手要撑得住呢。
They are meals.
Of course.
That's very interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's quite old.
It is. I mean, 17.
你就靠着啊。
不要了。
38.
Something like
Yeah.
that.
And the others from 74.
Yeah.
And the other one is a replica from one who's much older.
Yep.
Yeah, so there's a difference. But for us, it's quite important to have dry feet. Because it's only water what they take out of the ground. We're here living 2.5 meters under sea level, so that's why. So we would like to have dry feet. That's why we come here all the time.
So do they pump water?
They did. Not anymore. You saw at the beginning the big pumps.
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
They take more water out than all the animals together. Before they had to take the water out of the actually because it was wetlands.
爸爸帮我戴帽子。
Wetland was the small one.
Okay.
Yeah, and the ground went down because it was dry.
啊，它
So
它满了会怎样？
get the water
满
out.
了就
So
不能
they
再
had
录而
to
已啊，
think
也没
of
关系啊。
what do we have to do?
录到它满
The
了。
water higher.
我怕你手先
And
酸
then
而已，
they built all these windmills.
通常
And
你的手比较撑不久，
over by Nederland.
为什么？
There's two basins,
因为它很重。
two reservoirs,
为什么它
and
会
higher.
Okay. Yeah.
And all these windmills had to put
这
it
是最
over
轻
the
的。
dike, just
最
half,
重。
啊？
yeah, but there's
这台最轻吗？
1.5 meter
这台
higher.
没有再严
Because
重啊，
then we could open
比
the
手机
doors
重多了吧
in the dike when the river is low.
是啦。
And so otherwise we didn't have dry feet here. That's
So they were pretty important.
yeah. So that's why, and the water is just rainwater. So
So it's kind of.
there's no river, but the river is there and there on this side and there. So it's fuller. So the wetlands they try to have some farming and to live on. We have in Holland a third of our country just living on the sea level, and the water is going up, the sea is coming up, it's raining more, so we still have to be careful. Yeah, that's where we say that was actually this was the beginning of water management. Because we could say how high it was and lower and higher. But in that time they didn't know what was water management. It's actually our product now.
巨无霸。为什么人手撑不？为什么撑不久？
We belong together.
试试看啊。
它一定撑不了30分钟。那它会超过它会超过风车吗？数量？
That's why I'm here.
它会开很远吗？
对啊，
开到我
10分钟。
刚那边去啊？
Out of control.
开始，那没风车我就不要，我就停下来，然后呢，然后再录回来，
对啊，
那边录回来。
So they know when
Muistan sen ja
Stop.
mulla jälkikäteen katsonut.
when it's necessary.
Tänne lennettiin, niin katsoin. Niin oikein
There are on rolls. You saw them maybe the rolls there, and then they put with wood, and then they do. But when it is too fast, it would be too warm. So that so they know how to do that. So they know when they have to before the yes, turning to ice. Yeah. And you shouldn't turn when this wind is there so fast because then that's why every windmill is a family living, and one of them has to be a mill. Because 35,000 turns in a year. And they're not pumping anymore because our pumps are much stronger than all these famous pedals. So
Now it's just warming water.
yeah, so yeah. but to get them to hold them in good shape, we need to turn 65,000 turns a year. And so they're living here, and they have to do the maintenance around. They rent them the mill from the organization, and they do the maintenance. So you see the ladies giving some water, yeah. And they turn on 65,000 times. So that's half a day when there's enough wind. And so they work somewhere else. They have them, so they're within a hobby of Miller. They like to be here.
And all these winter mill are still in operation.
Yes, they could, because that's because it's a heritage, and the heritage says it has to be built on this place, and it has to function. So they're all functioning when it is necessary, but they don't because the water's going out there, and the big pump you saw is taking that much. In 1 minute, an Olympic swimming pool outside.
That's a lot of water.
Yeah, that's awful. That's it's not necessary to pump anymore, but it is good. But they could pump as well because it still works.
We saw with this mill outside very high water.
Yeah, that's a different one. It's smaller, so that we're living in a small place down, and the machine is turning all around. And it's different than this one because it's in the middle. Yeah, so only the top here is turning. But there, the whole house, the whole house is turning. Yeah, it's different, but it's much older. There's 100 years between they built this one and this one. That's all. And they have the wheel outside. Yeah. And the other has the inside, pumping inside as well.
And the water market kind of 1953.
Sorry,
There's a.
This one is from 1638.
No, I mean, there were a flood of fire.
Oh yeah, that was before 16.
哎，小朋友在挥手。
I think yeah, somewhere there, but in 15, that was the flush we had.
为什么都不能放大？
这个就有放大的功能。
好嘞。
这个啊，这个往后推就放大，往前就缩小。
这个。
对啊。Over there, so that was here safe. That's why we drive the boulder because we wanted to have.
它放大就停啊。
对啊，放到最大就停，它可以缩小。
We need to, I mean, all these places here were to get through the water. So in that time, you had only not that much place, and the Dordrecht was living in the wetland as well. So it was a big town, but in the wetland. So you put, we had a lot of ships there. So that's why we said we have to have more land, we have to do more. And a third of Holland is under sea level. A third. So it's dangerous because the water's coming on, the sea is coming on, there's more rain, and we don't know, but the glaciers in Switzerland are melting as well. So we don't know. We have always thought that water we have now. Yeah, you don't know what is going on. But there's much more rain, so we have harder to pump. So the big pump was enough, but now they're building another one on the other side because they have to take more water out. Yeah.
And you need redundancy. One phase.
Yeah, but Holland is specialty with water and our fight against water. So That's why we do it a lot of the time.
可以吗？
Management of all these water levels is very complicated.
Yes, but they did it in 1700 on this level. Start of water management. Huh? But they never heard about that word. That they were living here poor. They had a hard life here because there was nothing in the ground. So the whole family was living here, and everybody had to help. They had to turn when the organization said you have to turn now, then even if it was night, they had to turn. Yeah. But now they're living there. They had a kitchen, and they were not allowed to have fire inside. But now they have everything. But you saw maybe the windmill there. It's not that big. A lot of people living on the mill. No. It's not. It's a machine. Yeah, it's a hard drive.
You live in a machine.
Yeah, you live in the machine, and the machine has to work. And so they were used to a lot of noise when there was wind. It was turning.
But still,
太小，最近好多小吃的哦，是这个季节。
it's
Liquid sleep.
noisy.
Yeah. Yeah, and then actually when you saw the places, they had a lot of children, and then the boys were the first floor.
那如果录不下去，它就会直接跳掉。
对啊，
Because when you see the bed, yeah, but it was we lay down, but they said it's not good for your health. So they were sitting sleeping, and then you can just sit around. So yeah.
It seems that they thought that when you die, you are flat on the ground. So if you sit, you have less chance of dying.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, that's what I heard. That's what they think in that time. Eh? So you could have a lot of children. When you have been you have seen maybe they had 13 children in.
转弯了，转弯了。
Yeah, that's a lot. That's a lot.